Daily Detox Podcast. I'm your man, Dion J, and today we have co-host, Professor Carter.
What's going on, people?
Welcome to the show.
All right, let's get into it.
Professor Carter,
Yes, sir.
why'd you leave the Democratic Party?
Wow, we're getting straight to it. There were several reasons that I've decided I'm no longer voting for the Democratic Party. I'll start by going a little bit into my background. Out of all the elections that I have voted for in my life, especially presidential elections, I voted Democratic. I voted for Barack Obama for his first term, and I will admit that I voted for him strictly because he was African American. I didn't look into any of his policies, any of his voting record. I specifically uh, voted for him because he was black. I felt like we needed that representation in the White House on that particular level. It was good to see a black man take that office. That was my original thinking. I voted for him again for his second term, and uh, I can admit that it wasn't as monumental. It wasn't as um, moving. I would say it wasn't a big of a moment on his second term because we at that point we've already had a African American um, in the presidency. But I really bought into his message of hope, and I was like, you know what? I saw how much opposition that he had his first term, and I said, you know what? Let's see what he does his second term. Um, and I think that's kind of been uh, the way most people, I would say, most especially most African Americans have voted. I think we have overwhelmingly supported the Democratic Party, at least within the last half century. To this day vote over 90% in local and presidential elections. We vote for the Democratic Party. And it wasn't until I started doing a little bit more research and I started realizing, I said, you know, in the 1950s and 60s, the things that we were marching for, as far as African Americans and our white allies as well, who saw the systemic issues that were going on, the things that were still a issue then, uh, in a lot of these cities and Democrat-run states and cities, those issues are still there now. We are still marching, fighting, protesting, and drawing awareness to some of these same issues. Uh, the largely African American communities, especially within our inner cities, they're failing. They are dangerous, oftentimes drug infested, underserved, under resourced. The school systems are bad. It's funny because I remember when our president, Donald Trump, when he was running for office, he made a bold and at the time I felt disrespectful uh, statement when he said, "Black America, what the hell do you have to lose?" And he started running off a list, kind of what I just did, of all these systemic issues and all these issues that our communities of color were facing, our Black communities were facing. And I've come to realize that, you know what, we're still facing a lot of those same issues. I'm going to go down a list of a couple of cities here um, that not only are dangerous, they're underserved, and again, failing communities. And we're going to see a theme. So we look at Detroit. Um, the crime rate is ridiculous. The opportunities there are slim to none. And it just really hasn't been the same since the motor industry, uh, the glory of the motor industry days. They never really rebounded. But again, that mayor of Detroit is a Democrat. We look at Birmingham, Alabama, same thing. Underserved community, very dangerous city. The odds of being a victim is 1 in 51 to a violent crime. And again, Democrat mayor. Uh, Memphis, Tennessee, same thing, Democratic mayor. Baltimore, Maryland, right up the street, right, not too far. Everyone in the DMV knows that when you think about Baltimore, is we speak of it like it's a whole different country. You know, tremendously underserved, low resource schools are failing. And again, we have a Democrat mayor, Jack Young, Flint, Michigan. I mean, where do we even start when it comes down to Flint, right? We all know the issues that they're facing and have been facing. Again, Democrat mayor. And St. Louis, I can go on and on. Wilmington, Delaware, Camden, New Jersey, right? So this is not just a East Coast, West Coast, South, Southern, and North issue. This is, uh, I believe, a fundamental failure when it comes to policy, when it comes to leadership of the Democratic Party. Now we can take it. That was just local level, but we can take it to on a major scale, and let's talk about the presidencies. Like 2008, we had a severe economic crash, and that was largely due to the housing crisis. Right, African Americans, unfortunately, most of our wealth is tied up in the only asset that we usually have in the African American community, which is our homes. So we asked ourselves, how did this really happen, right? And it wasn't until I started to do more research into the housing crash, and I found out that uh, there were certain policies that were being put in place on banking institutions, right? And it was almost like they were forcing them to do these subprime mortgages and making them affordable to people who really shouldn't have been buying homes to begin with, right? They were giving them, interest rates that were favorable, but these were crappy loans. So you have a lot of I'll speak for the black community. You have a lot of black people who really couldn't afford these homes, but were able to get mortgages for these homes that they really couldn't afford. So you fast forward, and then because the banks were being forced to do this because it was just they were being pressured to be able to give like these equal opportunities, and fast forward, you have a crash, and it wouldn't have been that bad for black people if so much of our wealth is tied it wasn't tied up in our homes. If we had other streams of wealth building avenues working for us, but unfortunately we were disproportionately impacted by all of this because of um again, a lot of those loans were given to us. And I think what it boiled down to, where I am at this point in my life, I've advanced in my career, and there's other things that I'm thinking about, and I'm like, I, I am conservative at heart. When I think about how I grew up, you work hard. There was no excuses. You don't really want to hand out. You work hard, and you can get whatever you want. And my grandfather really instilled these things in me. Even though I was a product of a single parent household and things of that nature, he always told me I could have whatever I wanted. I can do whatever I wanted. It was up to me, and that really went a long way with me. I also grew up in the church, so from a religious standpoint and from a value standpoint, there's certain things that I just don't agree with. That I feel like a lot of that are being pushed on the Democratic side for more of a liberal agenda that I just in my heart just don't agree with, and I will never agree with it. And that doesn't mean that I don't I wish ill upon people, or I don't respect everyone's decisions. Is how it basically just saying that I personally don't fall in line with a lot of those things. Um, Also, I would have to say the fact that we vote at 90% rates for one particular party, something systemically is wrong there. Because if I know, if I'm a Democrat, right, running for office, and I already know I have your vote because historically you just vote for me no matter what, you vote for my party, then I'm not going to go as hard for you. I'm not going to. I already know that you're going to vote for me, so I'm not enticed to win your vote. When in other communities they lobby and make sure that the candidates have to win their vote. Joe Biden said something very recently that really kind of exposed everything. It was two things that he said. He went on an African American platform, a media platform known as the Breakfast Club, and he looked at a panel of black men and women host and told them straight up and told America that, hey, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. And of course, they tried to clean that up, and he issued an apology, But then about a month later, he made another statement where he said basically, and I'm summarizing here, uh, the black community, unlike the Latino community, we don't think uh, diversely, right? We don't have different viewpoints on issues. We're kind of lockstep. This is different than the Latino community. So that was eye opening to me because it was like, you know what? He's really exposing how the Democrats really feel about black people and how they take our votes for granted because they already know it's coming to us, coming to them. And I'll sum it up to say, like, it's almost like an abusive relationship, right? If a woman is with a man who abuses them, or vice versa, and the abuser knows that the person that they're abusing, their partner, their spouse, is never going to leave them. They're going to be with them no matter what. More than likely, the abuse will continue. And I personally believe that we as African Americans have taken this constant abuse from our Democratic partner, and they have no reason to change it because we continuously blindly, it seems, vote for them. And so I've decided that I'm no longer going to do that. If I don't believe that you're doing things for my community, if you are not enriching my life, and if you're not going with the values in which I stand for, then I can no longer vote for you simply because um, my grandparents, parents, and probably their parents voted Democrat. And it's funny when you even talk to someone about the option of not voting Democrat in the black community, is almost like, So this is the first time in my life I've been called a coon. This is, or a sellout or whatever the case may be. I, uh, first of all, I went to a black school. I'm in a black fraternity. I mentor black youth. I live in a black neighborhood. I am the quintessential definition of a black person, of a black male who is successful, who is learned. However, I have learned to think for myself and to just research. And I just feel like if anyone does that, they would come to the same conclusion. Like, you know what, this party is no longer um, benefiting me or even working for my vote. So all that in a nutshell is why I just can't do it anymore.